Dear respected brothers and sisters of the community, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So these last couple of nights, we've been going through characteristics of what it means and what we can learn from the companions of the Imams and how we can serve our Imam today. I went through characteristics one by one. We learned many lessons and stories. But today I'm going to teach you, and what I'm going to talk about today is the last will of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Many of us call ourselves the Shia of Ali, but you don't have to answer this, but how many has actually read the last will of Imam Ali alayhi salam? His instructions that he left us. Everything that I've talked about in the last 11 nights, it's summarized in this one will. You know, we have so many of his works today available. Nahj al-Balagha, it has his actual letters which he wrote to people. We have his will. We have all these things from Imam Ali alayhi salam which we don't look at ourselves. You know, to truly be a Shia means you understand what he was and what that personality, that great personality Imam Ali alayhi salam is. And to do that, you can understand what he wrote for us, what he left behind. If we ignore those things, how can we call ourselves Shia? So I call this the keys to Jannah because this itself, everything that's contained inside his will is the best way to live in your life. And this is the will he gave to Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And so I'll go through his will one by one, and I'll discuss each part of his will. The first thing I want to point out is that he starts his will by Abdullah Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. His greatest honor in his life was what? Abdullah, to be a slave of God. This was his greatest honor in life. To truly submit, because one who's a Muslim truly submits to Allah. And that's why when he was martyred, he said by the Lord of the Kaaba, succeeded why he died in the lowest position, but the highest position with Allah. This is what it means to be an Abdullah. Now he says the first advice he gives, the first part of his will is this. My advice to you is to be conscious of Allah, to have taqwa, awareness of Allah, and be steadfast in your religion. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, after they slaughtered his entire family, and as he was holding his child Ali Asghar, Abdullah Radi, in his arms, when an arrow was in his neck, what did he say? He made a dua to Allah. He says, Oh Allah, I'm patient what I'm going through because I'm in your presence. Because of you, Allah. As he was laying down, his body was being shot with spears, he made du'as to Allah. And he was exalting Allah, saying, You're the greatest. Even in that moment, this is how much he loved Allah. He was always aware of Allah's presence, and this is what got him through this. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, this nafs of mine, I mix it with taqwa. So on Yawm al-Qiyamah, I'm going to be at perfectly rest. Why? Because you mix taqwa with your nafs. You have God consciousness always. Remember that speed camera example I gave you? It's always on. This is how you have to live this life. And it says, be steadfast in your religion. These days, when you have so much misinformation going on, to be steadfast in your religion, your foundations have to be strong. Especially the youth. You have to learn your faith, aqidah, study, learn, seek knowledge. So you're not confused out there because people will give you misinformation left and right. You know, especially when you're younger, because you know, once you build the foundation strong, it's very hard to take it down. So remember this. Seek knowledge and learn. In fact, there's a tradition that says the seekers of knowledge, when they embark on the path of knowledge, Allah opens the path of Jannah for them. The heavens, the angels flap their wings and rejoice, and all of the beings of the heavens and earth, even the fish in the sea, ask for forgiveness for them. This is how much honored the people who seek knowledge are. It says they shine bright like a moon in front of stars on a full moon night. This is how those who seek knowledge. To seek knowledge in the path of Allah and build your foundation strong so you're not going to go astray. The second thing he says is this. Do not yearn for the world and do not be seduced by it even if it comes after you. Sometimes the world will chase after us. And this is a theme that I've been going through the last couple of days, worldly attachments. Imam Ali this is the second thing as well. As we discussed, detachment from the world is the most important thing, especially for our nafs, for our spirituality. To grow spiritually, we have to detach from this love. We have to understand that everything belongs to Allah. Our houses, our cars, even our spouses, everything belongs to our own bodies belong to Allah. For it is the love of this dunya which led to the marching amongst sin in Islam. People sold themselves for the love of this world. My own life, I don't want to live this life longer, I want all the wealth. This is what happened. Imam Ali has said that the love for this world is the source of every sin. And it's completely true when you look at it, think about it. You know, there were three men once, this is a story of Imam Jafar He narrates that there was once, Nabi was walking with three companions. And he walks by gold, a place where there's a bunch of gold lying around, scattered. And he says, this gold kills humans. He gave him that warning. So eventually, he's keep on walking, and one by one, the first companion comes and says, sorry, I gotta go. I have to go take care of my brother. The second companion says, I have to go take care of my mother. The third companion says, I have to go take care of something else. They all left him after they saw the gold. And coincidentally, they all ended up in the same spot. All three of them showed up with the gold. Now they're all standing there. They're like, okay, let's not fight, let's just divide amongst ourselves. It's fair. They all agreed. So one companion says, let's have a meal before we divide this gold and leave, because it's going to take a while, we have to dig it out. So as the first companion, there's three of them. One goes to get the food. As he's going to get the food, he's like, you know what? Why do I have to share this gold with them? This is so much gold, it'll share my entire life, change my entire life. Let me poison this food. So he goes and poisons the food. Two companions that remained, they're like, why do we have to share with this guy? When he comes back, let's just kill him. Third companion comes back with the food. The first two companions, they kill him. He's dead now, the one who brought the food. After that struggle, they got hungry. They ate the food. They all died. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam comes. He revives them because Allah had given that gift. He was able to bring people back from dead with Allah's permission. And he says to them, did I not tell you that gold kills? Greed kills you. Love this dunya will kill you. Understand this, brothers and sisters. This is why Imam Ali has said he divorced his wealth 3 times so you can never go back to it. You know, when people leave this world, the worldly people ask how much did you leave behind, and Allah will ask how much did you put forward for the world. Do not ever let this world change your morals, or for wealth, give up what you believe in, because this is what happened. This is what led to the martyrdom of Islam in the first place. Imam Ali Islam, as those of you know, he became the third caliph eventually. But before he became the third caliph, after Umar had died, the people ran to him. They said, we want you. So they said, we're going to have an election. And it was between 2 people, Imam Ali and someone else. As you know, he became the 4th one. So everyone knew that Imam Ali was going to win this election. Because of course it's Ali. And once people say the truth, no one's going to stay away from him. So they came up with a trick, like, you know what? Let's tell him that to accept this Khalifa, you have to accept the Sunnah of the Prophet and the first 2 caliphs. So election day came, votes needed to be casted. It was between 2 people. They came to Imam Ali and said that you will win this caliphate right now. All the votes are for you. But do you accept the traditions of the Prophet? Of course I accept the traditions of the Prophet. Do you accept the tradition of the first 2 caliphs? He says, I do not accept the tradition of the first 2 caliphs. He had the caliphate in the golden platter right in front of his eyes. He says, I will not take this caliphate. I have to accept these traditions. He stood for his morals, what's right. He not let this dunya, this whole entire caliphate that people kill each other for, he had it in his hands. He threw it away. And then, after that person died, they ran to him, and that's how he became caliph. But this is the story of how he actually was elected the first time. So understand, Imam Ali threw this dunya away. He didn't want it. If he could not do what he needed to do and enjoy the good and forbid the evil, it was nothing to him. It was worthless, completely worthless. Because at the end of the day, if you give up this dunya, you give up Allah and your religion for wealth, you're all going to end up in the same grave. You know, Bahlul, he was a companion, I mentioned before, the Imams. And he used to teach people lessons through jokes and through tricks and by acting that he's crazy. He used to do many things and people should learn lessons from them. So once he was in a graveyard playing with skulls. He found a place where there were skulls and he was just playing with them, acting crazy. Harun Rashid walks by with his caravan. He asks him, "What are you doing, Ya Mahlul?" He says, "I'm trying to figure out who was rich and who was poor. I can't tell. They all look the same to me." He's teaching him a lesson. And he has his stick. He's like, "Why do you have a stick?" He said, "I'm trying to measure the earth." He's like, "Why are you measuring the earth? What have you found?" He said, "It looks like all the people who are rich and all the people who are poor are about 6 feet under. What's the difference? The only thing that mattered is their morality and their religious values that they had in the day." On Yom Al-Qiyamah, Allah says, your richness is your good deeds. Everything else is left behind. As I mentioned before, people will fight over your wealth, whatever you leave behind. The only thing you're taking with you is the deeds that you've done, your book of deeds. Now, life is not promised, brothers and sisters. Many of us say that one day we're going to become better, we're going to change. Tomorrow's not promised. The grave calls out to you every single day. Our hadiths tell us, "Ana bayt al-wahsha, ana bayt al-ghurba," on the home of the lonely, the home of those who live this life, and now they realize what's happening in the grave. After we die, we go into the period of barzakh. Barzakh is an intermediate realm between, we wait there until Yom Al-Qiyamah. And that grave, we can either be heaven for us or hell for us. And that grave can be hell for us too, before you can enter the real hell. Depends on how we live this life. And the only thing that's going to save you in that day is the deeds you have done, brothers and sisters. If this year you learned anything from this pandemic and all these deaths, life is not promised. You can go down tonight, tomorrow. It takes 1 second to change. Remember, Allah hasn't gone anywhere. It's you who has gone away from Allah. Understand this. Then he goes on and says, "Do not resent anything in this life that you have missed in this world. Proclaim the truth, do good deeds, and work for the next world." And he says, "Do not give up the truth for anything." And Imam Ali Islam, he said himself, "Those who speak in the path of truth will have less friends. So why does it matter when you're going to be honored with angels in paradise? Allah is with you, doesn't matter who's with you or against you. You have Allah. Tawakkal Allah. Trust in Allah. If you stick to the truth, at least people will respect you no matter what happens. Understand this in life. If you try to lie at the times, they'll pretend to like you, but no one respects you. This is the truth in life. Every single night in Kufa, Imam Ali used to go in the nights and yell to the people of Kufa, "Prepare for a journey, do good deeds with what you have blessed, what you have been blessed with. Allah has given you blessings, use those blessings to help others. Fight for what lies in front of you is a very difficult road if you don't do this." He's warning us of the grave, brothers and sisters. He would go every single night to Kufa and yell this out in the streets to people. Prepare yourself. This is all we need to do, brothers and sisters. And it says, do good deeds. Sadaqah jariyah, sadaqah that lasts forever. One of the best things that will save you in this lonely grave is the good deeds you have done. Now I looked at many hadiths and I kind of compiled a list for you, the things that I've mentioned through hadiths of the prophets and the imams, of deeds that count as sadaqah jariyah. Charity given to others. The most important sadaqah jariyah to have is giving charity. It's a deed that will forever pay you back. Bringing someone towards Islam or teaching someone something good. Inviting someone towards your religion by your actions or your good deeds or what you tell them. Remember, it's an infinite good deed. For every person that person influences or his entire generations of family, you're getting reward for all those people. Raising good children. One of the most important things for parents. Your children can be sadaqah jariyah for you if they do good deeds. It says in the hadiths, all the hadiths, they mention this one thing. Your children, with their actions that they do in this life, can make your grave paradise. If you raise good kids. So remember this. A tree that is planted, doing good deeds for others. Giving someone water once in their life. That's also sadaqah jariyah. Planting a well, also sadaqah jariyah. Quenching the thirst of others, brothers and sisters. These are all infinite good deeds. Do this throughout your life. Live your life for others, brothers and sisters. And Allah will pay you back. Because you gave to His beloveds, He will make you understand. He'll pay everything back to you. Understand His brothers and sisters. And He goes on to say, oppose the oppressors and support the oppressed. Do not desist from promoting good deeds and forbidding the evil. And if you do this, the worst amongst you will rule, and it will be all your fault. And this is very true in the world today. All the people, we complain about Muslim countries and their rulers. Who put them in power? You guys did. Everyone did. The people there put them in power. They set them good promises here and there. They ignore their corruption. Imam Ali warned us about this 1,400 years ago. And opposing the oppressors and supporting the oppressed brothers and sisters today in the world, we have so many, our Muslim brothers and sisters around the world are being killed, slaughtered. And we become, honestly, desensitized to these situations. We talk about it every single day like it's nothing. Oh, did you hear these people are being killed here? Did you hear this being killed there? What are you doing about it? Instead of talking about it, what are you doing about it? All of us have to understand, we have a duty. We have to treat them like our own. The Prophet said that if one, almost like a body, one part hurts, the entire body should feel that pain. And if you're not feeling that pain, you're not part of this ummah, brothers and sisters. Understand this. Do what you can do. If you can just be vocal, spread awareness, do something. If you hear about a tragedy and you're not doing anything about it, you have to answer to Allah. Remember this. Imam Hussein made the ultimate stand for justice. To be his Shia, we have to stand for oppression, against oppression everywhere. Whatever you can do, if you have social media, spread awareness, just share posts. Whatever you're doing, you're helping. Do not be doing nothing, because you have to answer to Allah. Sometimes we only care about our own people, our own country. Allah, He tells us time and time again, those who do not care for others, you're not one who follow the path of Islam. And we're all one ummah, as the Prophet mentioned this slide. Whether it be Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, Yemen, they're all our brothers and sisters. Everywhere there's oppression, stand up and fight for our brothers and sisters. This is our duty to the Imam, and the Imam of our time today. Do not become desensitized, because that's the worst thing that can happen to you. That means your hearts become hardened to these situations. Your heart must always be soft to these situations, and care for these people around the world. Whether you can do by social media, spreading awareness, donating your money, whatever you can do, help. Then he goes on to say, fear Allah in relations with your neighbors. And your Prophet recommended your neighbors so much that we thought that we have to give our inheritance to those people. Imam Ali has a famous saying, what, your brother in humanity? Or your brother in faith, or your equal in humanity? Imam Ali, you know how just he was? His letter that he wrote to Malik al-Ashtar, the governor in his 10th rule, one of his governments, that letter is recognized by the United Nations today as the most just rule of any time. That letter he wrote to the people, he wrote to them, he told them how to govern, and how to govern non-Muslims, to treat them like you want to be treated. This is how we have to treat our neighbors, brothers and sisters. One day, Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, she was feeling ill. So Imam Ali went to her and he said, what can I do to make you feel better? And she said she wants pomegranates. She liked pomegranates. Everyone likes pomegranates. So he says, of course, I'm going to go out and get it for you. He went and he didn't have money. He took a loan to buy the pomegranate. Number one lesson. Take care of your spouses. Take care of your wives. Today, if your wife asks for a pomegranate, you don't have the money, you're not going to get it for her. You give her an apple probably, but this is number one lesson. Look how he treated his wife. He took out a loan just to make her feel better. But that's not the moral of the story. It goes further than this. As he's walking back, he sees a beggar begging there. And he says, I need food. I haven't been hungry for 5 days. Imam Ali Islam, only thing he has is pomegranate. He gives it to him. He says, Allah says, give whenever someone asks. Don't question, just give. He gave it to him. He comes back, he's very sad now because he doesn't have the pomegranate for Sayyidah Fatima Zahra. And she's feeling sick, he wants to make her feel better. They open the door and he's ashamed, he's embarrassed because he doesn't have it. She's smiling. She's like, Ali, I know what happened. She says, what? He says, what? He says, I know you gave the pomegranate. And as soon as you gave that pomegranate, I started feeling better. And then someone in Farsi, he comes at that exact moment, he comes to the door, he knocks, and Imam Ali opens the door, and he sees Salman Farsi has 10 pomegranates. He has 9 actually. So Imam Ali says, what is this? He says, this is sent from Rasulullah by Allah to you. Imam Ali says, there's only 9. When we do one good deed, Allah gives 10. This is not sent by Allah. Salman, he laughs. He goes like, I have my one pomegranate in my pocket. I just wanted to. But he says, not because he wanted to eat it. He's like, I like to see every single time your knowledge, just my faith becomes stronger and stronger inside you. Because only you would know this. Only you would know that Allah sent you was sent 10. But Imam Ali truly was the manifestation of the verse when it says that you'll never find goodness in this life unless you give from what you have. Give to others, treat others like you want to be treated, brothers and sisters. Imam Hussein even in the Battle of Karbala, as you know, on the way there, he had all this water that he collected before because he knew. But when Persia's army came, he even gave the horses water, even though he knew it was going to happen. This is how they treated others. This is the akhlaq we need to have, and we need to learn from Imam Islam and Hussein Islam, all the Ahlul Bayt and Imma and their companions. Then he says, the next part as well, remain attached to the Quran. Nobody should surpass you in learning the Quran and implementing it. And I mentioned this before, and I had a whole lecture on this actually. You know, Imam Rasulullah, he says that I leave behind the Quran, the Ahlul Bayt, not just the Ahlul Bayt, the Quran together. Together, both of them. If you just ignore the Quran and only go for Ahlul Bayt, he says that you need both. Both of them, brothers and sisters. When's the last time we actually read the Quran and pick up the Quran? You know, the Quran itself, it's the light for us, and it's going to be the one that ascends us in Jannah, as I mentioned before. And the more you read, the more better you become, because the Quran has sent the book to change moral guidelines, ethical guidelines. And he says those who read it and implement it. That means he says read, reflect, learn what you're reading, understand what you're reading. Those who read the Quran only in Arabic, if you don't know what it means, read the translations. For the Quran is meant to be reflected upon, not just to be recited, not knowing what you're reciting. Understand that. Reflect, read the tafsirs. Understand what you're saying, what Allah is saying to you. This is Allah's words directly to you. The ultimate book, he says it's the ultimate book of guidance. So let's build this relationship with the Quran. As I mentioned before, one of the gifts you can give to Muhammad Islam is to learn. Mahashid Najfi, one of the greatest scholars we had, he used to be the prayer imam in the Masjid of Sayyidah Fatima al-Qum. And you guys can write this down if you want. He's recommended some surahs for you guys to read at certain times. He says, in his will that he wrote to his son, he says, make a habit of reciting Surah Yasin after Salat al-Fajr in the morning. After Salat al-Dhuhr, recite Surah al-Naba, and after Salat al-Asr, recite Surah al-Asr. After Maghrib, recite Surah al-Waqiyah, and after Isha, recite Surah al-Mulk. And he says this practice has amazing gains, and it truly helps your spirituality, brings you close to Allah. This is the advice that one of the greatest scholars we had in that generation. Understand this, brothers and sisters. Then Imam Ali says, fear Allah in relation to your prayers, for it is the pillar of your religion. The foundation of your religion is prayers, brothers and sisters. Why? Because it's submission to Allah. If you don't submit to Allah, what is your religion? You give it up to everything else. Imam Hussein, as I mentioned yesterday, the last night he asked for one night just to pray to Allah. In fact, there's a story of Imam Ali Islam. One of his companions, Abu Dawud, he once saw Imam Ali Islam walking, and he saw him walking to a forest. It was nighttime, so he starts, walking behind him to see what he's doing. And he sees Imam Ali Islam. It's nighttime. He starts praying in the middle of the forest alone at nighttime, and he goes to sujood. So he's waiting there, just waiting to finish salud. He wants to speak to him, talk to him, spend some time with Imam. Hours passed. He walked, he's like, let me take a break. He goes to come back, he sees Imam Ali still in the same position. He's like, did he fall asleep? He goes to start like shaking him. There's no movement, there's nothing, he's just in sujood. He starts pulling him, he's like, oh my God, I think he's dead. He strikes in Allah and the Raja, and he runs to Sayyidah Fatima Zahra. He says, oh Sayyidah Fatima, I think Ali died. She's like, oh God, it is not his time yet. He must be in prayer. And this is how he is when he's in prayer. Nothing can move him when he's in submission to Allah. No one can move him. You can try as much as you want, he's not going to, he's like a mountain in submission to Allah. This is how much love he has for Allah. In fact, in the Battle of Siffin, when they had to remove the arrow from Ali Hassan, when did they remove it? They said remove it while he's in prayer, because he's not going to feel any pain. This is how much prayer meant to Ali Hassan. This is how much prayer meant to Imam Hassan. This is how much prayer should mean to us. You see this mihrab over here, right? Mihrab, the root word for mihrab is what? Harb. What is harb in Arabic? War. One of the meanings of this is that every time you go to prayer, you're at war with yourself and war with shaitan. Because what is shaitan's biggest defeat? Your submission to Allah. Every single time, and this is what they say, sometimes you pray and you can't concentrate. Every time you get to prayer, you think about everything else in the world. One of the secrets to concentrating in prayer is praying on time. Why? Because the closer you get to prayer time, you have defeated shaitan, the more victorious you are. And the more delayed you are in your prayer, shaitan's been winning in your head already. So your mind's already distracted by shaitan. He's already inside there. So for those who find it hard to concentrate in prayer, pray directly on time and see if that changes. Because Dhuhr prayer is meant for 1 o'clock, not for 5 o'clock. Allah gives you reasons for emergencies or for hardships that you have. Sometimes we just delay it. We still have time, Do not trade prayer like this. Imam Ali Hassan Salawat. He says, my shifa is not for those who neglect prayers. Remember that. For those who think you can neglect prayer and still get the shifa of imams, you're mistaken. Then Imam Ali Hassan says in his next part as well, fear Allah in relation to his house. Do not abandon it as long as you live. If you do that, you'll abandon your dignity. So here he's talking about the Kaaba. As we know, we have to go to Hajj. But Allah's house is also this masjid, brothers and sisters. The masjid that you go to. As I mentioned the first day I gave a lecture that one of the things I complain to Allah against you is the masjid that's empty. The masjid that you did not attend. Support the masjid. Build the house of God. Do whatever you can in the masjid. Come clean the carpets. Allah will lay the carpets of your grave beautifully. Understand this. Whatever you need to do, come help out in the masjid. Especially the youth. You need to be here. Understand, Allah will make your house beautiful and Jannah if you take care of his house here. Give in the way of the masjid. Support, give charity. If you give charity to the masjid, when you go around and collect the masjid, the person walks around every single day, have money ready, just give it. Every single dollar you give, whatever you give, for every person that comes here and benefits from this masjid, that's an infinite good deed for eternity for you. If you supported this masjid in any way whatsoever, brothers and sisters. Remember this. This is your house. Treat it like that. This is the house of Allah. You're his slave. You should be a slave to this masjid as well. For this is his house, take care of it. Take care of the house of your master, brothers and sisters. And then he says, persist in the jihad, in the cause of Allah, with your money, with your soul, and with your tongue. With your money, as we know, we've been told already, persist in jihad, earn money the right way. Once Imam Muhammad was, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Once a companion saw him, and he was walking by the field on a hot, sunny day, and he sees someone working really hard. He sees, who is this person? It was Imam Muhammad. And he goes up and says, oh Imam, look at you working so hard to chase this dunya. If you die right now, are you going to be satisfied? He says, of course I am. For I'm working in the way of my family, earning a halal income. This is also jihad. Remember, you're not chasing the dunya, but you're earning halal income. He says, if I earned it any other way, I would be in hell. But I'm earning halal income. Of course, I'll be proud of dying like this. Because I'm working for the family. This is also jihad. Remember this. Do not chase the dunya, but also work hard to meet your ends meet and to live a decent life. There's a difference between living, remember what Ali Hassan has said, that doesn't mean you don't own anything in the world. Nothing owns you. You can live a good life, but work hard for it. And that's jihad way of money. Do not take quick opportunities to make money if it's going to be haram. Haram money will destroy you, brothers and sisters. Remember this. No matter what it is, do not give it up. Then he says jihad against your souls. As we talk about jihad and nafs. I had a whole lecture on this jihad and nafs. The greatest battle of your life is jihad and nafs. The greatest jihad according to the Prophet is jihad and nafs. Work against your souls. Fight every single day to make nafs mutmainna. And what did I say? Nafs mutmainna? Contentness. Nafs that's pleased with Allah. No matter what happens in his life, Allah is looking out for me. Remember this. And then he says, against your tongue. Jihad against your tongue, brothers and sisters. Understand, Risat al-Hukuk, Imam Ali wrote, everything has rights, everything will testify against you, even your tongue. And the right of your tongue, and I'll read it directly word by word from Risat al-Hukuk in English, is the right of your tongue is that you consider it too noble for obscenity. Remember, your followers Ahlul Bayt, this tongue that praises Allah, how can you curse or say bad things? Refrain from meddling in the affairs of others. Speak only good and speak well about people. Ghiba is one of the biggest crimes you can ever do, one of the biggest sins. And unfortunately, it happens so much. It's like eating flesh of your brother, it says in the Quran. And in fact, the Prophet in the Hadith, he says that when someone hears the ghiba, and if he doesn't rush to stop this person about the ghiba of someone else, that person shall be humiliated by Allah in hereafter and in this life. So if you're just listening to ghiba for someone else, you're going to be humiliated. Imagine the person who's doing this. And in the cause of Allah, jihad in the cause of Allah. You know, Ayatollah Maharshi, the one I just mentioned before, who gave this will about the Quran, he struggled in the way of Allah. He had his time, he knew that a lot of our books were not available, there were not many libraries. So what he used to do, he used to buy books with his own money and build a small library. In fact, he ran out of money. He used to do people's qada prayers and qada fasts to earn money. He used to eat one meal a day to earn this money and buy books. He used to work in factories at night to buy books. And what he did, he created one of the biggest libraries in Qum we have today. 70,000 volumes of books, 13,000 ancient manuscripts of Shia Hadith and Hadiths around the world. In fact, it benefits so much that every person, every talib in Qum and Iran goes to this library, and it's free for everyone. He gave sadaqah jariyah. He struggled in the way of Allah, he benefited everyone. And now he's immortalized forever in that library. Everyone knows he did this. You work in the way of Allah, Allah honors you in the eyes of people. Remember this. Now, since I don't have much time left, I'm going to go through this really quickly actually. He says, do not cause disunity amongst yourselves. One of the biggest problems we have today in the world is that we as Shias are disunited amongst ourselves. And I've seen this, I go to many centers. This person is angry with this person. Why? Because I follow this scholar, I follow this scholar. SubhanAllah, we have one flag. The flag of Hussein and Islam. When the Imam comes back, I'm going to side with this army on this side, I'm going to with my scholar here. What's going to happen, brothers and sisters? Do not be disunited. Reconciliation amongst the people is the best of acts. Understand this. Do not be divided. This is the worst thing you can do. And the worst disrespect to the Imam is to be divided amongst yourselves. And I'll read the last part now because I don't have much time left. The last part as well is that fear Allah in the matter concerning the orphans. Attend to their nutrition and do not forget the interest in the middle of yours. There's a story that once Imam Ali was walking the streets of Kufa, he saw a woman carrying water. So he went to her And he's like, can I help you? Because it's very heavy. She says, yes. And as they were going, they were talking. And she tells him that her children are orphans because Imam Ali, the caliph at that time, Imam Ali, sent her husband to war and he died. She doesn't know this is Imam Ali. Now she's saying, my children are orphans and I'm widowed and we have nothing. So next morning, Imam Ali shows up at her house. He's like, I'm at your service. I'm your slave for the day. What can I do for you? He helps her making the food. As he's sitting there making the bread, he feels the heat of the fire. He says, this fire will be those who do not help out the orphans. He's there in her house cooking food for her. And she doesn't know it's Imam. And a lady walks by. And she starts screaming at the lady. Like, what are you doing? This is the Caliph, Amir al-Mu'mineen, the Caliph of the entire Ummah at this time, inside your house, making him cook for you? And she says, forgive me. And then he says, don't forgive yourself. Forgive us for those who do not take care of the orphans. This is Imam Ali Islam. And in fact, he would feed the orphans so much that it says that once he was poisoned, the orphans heard he needed milk. He would go around to the orphans and he would feed them. He would say, eat and ask Allah forgiveness for Ali. He would not tell them who he is. He would just say the sentence. When the orphans heard that he needed milk, it's the story of one orphan. She ran everywhere asking around for milk, begging for milk she can get milk, and runs to Imam Ali's house. When she runs to the house of Imam Ali Islam, she sees hundreds of orphans with bowls of milk, saying, Ya Allah, we're here for you, Ya Allah. He was the father of the orphans. But then I ask you, how did they treat the children of Imam Ali Islam? How did the world treat the children of Imam Ali Islam? How did they treat his children who became orphans? How did we say to Zainab alayhi salam when she was an orphan? And yesterday I recited that she was a revolutionary. She saved the lioness of Karbala. No matter what happened in this life, every speech she gave, she never let her izzat go down. She was the daughter of Ali. She stood steadfast like a mountain. But do you know what this girl went through, this lady, this daughter of Imam Islam, what she went through in this life, what she went through in Karbala? When she was younger, when she saw her mother martyred, she saw her father martyred, and then it came to Karbala. And on the afternoon of Karbala, when she lost her brothers, she lost her nephews, her sons. This is the pain you do not wish on your worst enemies. What she went through, and she stood strong. But this is what the history tells us. But when you see and understand what she went through and place yourself in her shoes that day, when she was looking around and she found no one there for her, she would cry, Ayn al-Hussein, Ayn al-Abbas, where are you, Hussein, where are you, Abbas? And for her children, Ayn al-An, Ayn al-Muhammad, where are you, my children? She was left all alone in the plains of Karbala, this lady, Zainab. It says she went to her brother's headless body, covered with wounds, trampled with horses, and she would look at it. And she said, oh Allah, accept the sacrifice from us. It says she would go to the hills of Tilla Zainabiyya, which is in Iraq today, and she would cry out, Ya Rasul Allah, Hada Husayna, this is your Hussein, lying in Karbala, under the horses of Bani Umayyah. Can't you see his head's on the spear? Ya Rasul Allah, look what they have done to your family. It says she comforts everyone. And all the children, she's running with them from tent to tent. And at one moment when they were all comforted and gathered, as best she can, they see her run off to the river for off. And when they ask her, why are you running to the river? She says, I didn't get to say goodbye to my brother Abbas. I want to go say goodbye to my brother Abbas. And here the poets recite when she reaches the river. She says, Aki Abu Fadil, Ya Abbas, you promised to take care of me. I'm here all alone. Ya Abu Abdullah has been killed. Ya Abu Fadil. And the poets say, it's like as if he replies, Ya Abdi Zainab, forgive me if I didn't have arms. If I had my arms, no one would have dared touch you, Ya Zainab. Ya Abu Fadil, where were you when I was all alone? And he says, I do not miss my eyes, for I could not have dared to see what they have done to you. And it says that once the caravan reached the land of Sham, there was a lady, Habib, she sends food to the caravan. And when she sent food to this caravan, Lady Zainab says, give it back. We cannot take food. We're the family of the Prophet. We cannot take charity. And she says, you're the family of the Prophet? Where are you from? Whose family are you? When she tells her she's Bani Hashim from this, and she's Sayyida Zainab, she says, you're Sayyida Zainab? Sayyida Zainab used to be my teacher and teach me Quran. I cannot recognize you. What has happened to you, Zainab? She says, how are you, Zainab? Zainab always with Hussein. Where's Hussein? She points to the spear. She says, that's my brother Hussein right there. You see that head? That's Hussein. This is my brother. This is my brother Hussein. Wa Husseina, Husseina, the world, the Ummah betrayed the family of Rasulullah. Inna Allah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Assalamu